Welcome to Heartwork Heroes, a show with ordinary people doing extraordinary work, a show about work that is passionate, heartfelt, impactful, and life changing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to announce a truly inspiring guest on today's show. Hailing from a small yet vibrant province of New Brunswick, this individual's journey is a testament to resilience and unwavering determination. Growing up in a middle class family with one younger brother, our guest experienced the charm of rural life, well water, and dial up internet included. This humble beginning didn't deter him. Instead, it sparked a love for the great outdoors, making him an avid hiker and camper. With a passion for adventure, he explored countless trails via ATV. His athletic prowess was evident early on, excelling in high level basketball and volleyball until college. At the age of 23, our guest made a bold move to Toronto, driven by an insatiable desire for more than just conventional employment. The entrepreneurial spirit took hold, and despite facing multiple setbacks, he never lost sight of his dreams. From network marketing health products in his teens, starting a window cleaning business with a friend, working as a success and personal development coach, to venturing into crypto trading, each attempt was a building block in his journey. The fifth endeavor, Spirit Window Cleaning, marked a turning point. Launched in September 2021, this business is now approaching its third anniversary, thriving thanks to the invaluable personal development training our guest embraced. Influences like Your Wish is Your Command, Bob Proctor, and Lead the Field were pivotal in shaping his success. Please join me in welcoming a true embodiment of perseverance and entrepreneurial spirit to the show, Eric Lowe. Welcome, Eric.
Hey, thank you so much, Iman. Thank you for the great intro. I'm excited to be on here. It's pretty awesome to see what you're doing with this. I love it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And how's the day going?
It's great. Just listening to you, I guess, kind of relay the history for me. It does show me the importance of marking down our wins and reviewing them. Because I got the goosebumps just listening to you say that.
Your own story, yeah. It's funny, eh? That's so good. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying there because sometimes we forget that, but then those are the things you pay attention to, and you're like, you know what? I've achieved things in my life, and my self-image has to be good here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just start with the thing. Let me know what are some of your biggest influences when you were growing up in New Brunswick?
It's a great question. I was really into sports when I was young. One of my biggest influences was Vince Carter. He brought basketball to Canada, basically, on the Toronto Raptors. So I would be, out in the driveway, shooting hoops all day, pretending I was Vince Carter, shooting the final shot. Him and Steve Nash were two big basketball players. And, as a kid, I wanted to be in the NBA, and I really looked up to them. And even though that didn't happen, I know now that I did learn a lot of success traits from them, even if it was kind of unconsciously, just by watching them. So that was definitely my biggest, you could say, idol growing up or influence. And like you mentioned in the intro, nature was the other one. We were surrounded by nature in New Brunswick. Once you walk out of your door, it's all nature. It's not like it is here in the greater Toronto area. There's still some great spots when you get out, but in New Brunswick, it was just everywhere. It taught me a lot.
Yeah. You're right when it comes to New Brunswick. I've never been there, but I've heard that New Brunswick is quiet. I've heard that. And quiet means nature, right? And it's so wonderful when you can listen to the nature sounds instead of the honks and the sirens. Being here in Toronto is something else, So
Yes.
yeah, you're right. Tell me something about your business philosophy. You've had some learning experience, and now finally you have a very successful business. Tell me something about the business philosophy that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so as you know, I have attempted many businesses throughout my time, all the way back from when I think it was when I was like 14 or 15, living at my parents is when I started that first network marketing company for
Yeah.
it was a health company. And my only customer was my mom. And she actually bought it just so I could continue staying on the product line. So yeah, at least I got one sale in that. Um, Looking back at all of it, one of the biggest philosophies that I realized that I had been doing is just never giving up, just continuing to move forward. And every time you fail, you fail. It's not really a failure unless you just quit and give up. Like you said, it's a building block. There's many, you could call them nuggets of gold, as our mentor does, that I could list onto that. Continuing to move forward, doing the right things long enough consistently. And he gives an example, and Kevin Trudeau is who we're talking about here. He gives an example of holding a magnifying glass in the sun over a leaf and moving it around every couple seconds, and it's never going to catch fire on the leaf. And he also gives the example of, are you using a green leaf or are you using a dry leaf? And the green leaf would be you're not doing the right things. Using the dry leaf means you're doing the right things. Long enough means you're holding it on the dry leaf long enough consistently. And it's the same with a business. And I've been the guy moving the magnifying glass around every
We have all been there. We have all been there.
Yeah, you start something and then you give up after a year, and you just didn't have enough focus and energy on that project to create enough momentum until a tipping point happens. So to go back to your question, the another philosophy is doing the right things long enough consistently, and that is why Spirit Window Cleaning has finally stuck, because I kept going and kept going and kept going. And I found even when you're not doing the right things, as long as you're still focusing long enough consistently, you figure it out. And you're continuing to put that energy in, create that momentum, and amazing things start to happen. And it seems easier and easier as you go along. I could tell you 100 other nuggets of gold here, but we'll stick for that one for now.
Yeah. I would love to know what were some of the turning points. What were some of the experiences that were major, like game changer? They shifted something inside of you. You realized, okay, like I understand this was a major thing when you realized, okay, my focus was out. So you brought in the focus. What were some of the lessons that you learned along your journey? Like when you understand my question, right? We have like I learned so much since 2014. I've been in this space, and but one of the biggest ones was obviously the focus, because the shiny object syndrome was there in me, and then now I'm no. This has to be done in a certain way. The pain was so much for me to stop doing that. If you understand my question.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what were some of the pivotal points in your journey
Well,
in life or in business? Because it affects
yeah,
both.
yeah. I can think of one specific one. I can think of a few. So I had always had an entrepreneurial spirit growing up, and I had tried different things. I was the guy selling lemonade on the side of the street. I was going around the neighborhood doing, fundraising all the time. I was, my friend and I one time actually took our ATVs and we would drive up and down the train tracks and pick up the scrap metal and bring it to the scrap metal junkyard and get money
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
So we were always
Wow.
trying to figure things out. This goes back to the point I said before, is not sticking with something long enough, because any business you do is a great idea in the beginning and you can earn money, but then I would give up and jump to something else. And
Mm.
it it was one time when I was in Toronto, and I remember waking up and just being kind of disgusted with my life and realizing I was not going where I want to go. I was working in a corporate job at the time. I didn't like it. I knew that I wanted to do something on my own. I didn't want to be chained to a desk and have to follow the orders of a, of a business. And it was a revelation that it brought me to find Bob Proctor's material online. So it was basically getting to a bottom, getting sick and tired of being sick and tired, which casted out a desire. Looking back, I realized this, and all of a sudden I saw these YouTube videos pop up from Bob Proctor, and I had no idea who this guy was. He's talking about this paradigm thing in our brain and how it needs to be changed, and so I started going into his material a lot, and that was the pivotal point when I got into his information. It was definitely more surface level than Kevin is, but it led me to find Kevin through a whole series of fortunate events. It led me to Kevin and to Your Wish Is Your Command, and then everything just started picking up and picking up. But to answer your question, it was, yeah, getting to the bottom of the bottom and realizing like, this is not what I want. I'm sick of this. And then focusing on what I do want. And when I did that, it was like serendipitous. These things started coming to me without me having to do any effort. It was just put on a platter right in front of me. And I just had to keep, following the breadcrumbs and moving forward.
True, true. It's funny how pain is required for us to get off the nail.
Mm-hmm.
You know that story, right? A hound dog sitting on a nail.
100%. The comfort zone is a dangerous zone.
It's a dangerous zone. And it's funny to see so many people today, they have aspirations, but they don't get off the nail. They just don't, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you must have experienced it, let's say with your partners or maybe with business associates, or generally you'll just see people around and you'll see a lot of desires are being said, or like wishes are being expressed. However, the action steps and the character, for me, character was a big thing. I had to build that. What do you say about character, Eric?
Yeah, that's huge. That's something that thankfully I gotta thank my parents, is they instilled that into me right away. So it was honestly effortless because they had really good character, and you become like the people you're around, and we're around our parents every day growing up. And yeah, that's been a huge thing for me in everything in life, getting jobs on sports teams, just interacting with people. You gotta treat other people like you want them to treat you, right? And especially in business, character is huge. People can see it right away. When you talk to someone, when I go to do a quote for business, they can tell your character instantly. And how to win friends and influence people, having a pleasing personality is so important, and that's part of your character. Also, just for karmic reasons, having a good character is important, because whatever you put is going to come back to you. You might as well take care of it.
Don't you feel that's huge? Because you don't see that today. I don't see that people showing integrity. Not everyone, but I don't see that people showing integrity, people having, people keeping their word or commitment. Time and time again, I see we encounter these people, and then it's just it's a win there, because you realize, listen, man, I'm the total opposite here. So there's you guys are hundreds of thousands and millions, and I'm one of those selected ones where I see the difference. Having that awareness is so key.
100%. And you touched on integrity as well. That's something that, when I first started the business for Spirit Window Cleaning, I was listening to Lead the Field. That was one of the programs you mentioned in the beginning by Earl Nightingale. And he is very big on integrity. And he instilled into me that when no one's looking, that's even more important to keep the integrity up, because that's when people slip, right? And especially in window cleaning, I worked for some of the biggest companies around here, and I saw it. When people aren't looking, they want to skip stuff, right? They want to skip windows. They want to see what they can get away with. And because of the training that we've gone through, because of listening to Lead the Field and other training as well, when I always applied the high integrity, especially when no one was looking, is when more business would come to me as if like magic. And it's not magic. Yeah. It's just the way the universe works, right? It seems magical. It's science.
It's funny because I observed this myself, like just that extra mile, go a little, do a little extra, and things will work. People just always fall short of crossing the line. You've seen that. It's
100%.
it's that little, just little more, and then showing integrity. I was talking to someone, and it's funny because now that we have touched this point, there's so many things that we can obviously share. And I want to stick to the structure that I have, but at the same time, I do want to bring this out because I've seen a lot of youngsters today. They want to do a lot of big things, but then they have this
Mhm.
as the biggest, I would say, attention grabber.
Mhm.
And then we have learned that wherever your focus goes, the energy flows. What would you say to a youngster watching this, right? Who wants to do something, right? But at the same time gets pulled into the social media, gets pulled into the news, gets pulled into um, irrelevant stuff. What would
Mhm.
you say to him or her watching this show?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's a really pressing concern in society right now. And I see it everywhere. And not even just with youngsters. I see it with people my age and people. It's a huge issue that you can't overcome. There's a lot of things that you can do. We know that meditating is one of the most important things for this because it's a drug. The phone is a drug. It may not be a chemical drug like stuff you ingest, but it's a mental drug. And it's releasing dopamine every single time you get a notification. When you get a like, a comment, a text, it's releasing dopamine and you get addicted to that. And your attention span, it gets so short. So when you meditate, it is, in my opinion, the best thing to do as a start. And Kevin Trudeau has some great audios on meditating on YouTube. And
Yeah,
that is going to be, I would say, the most important thing to start with. Because if you don't do that, it's like an uphill battle. And you're going to be trying to use willpower just to stop an addiction, which doesn't work. Um,
yeah.
Also, I believe Alan Carr actually has a addiction book about technology. I believe he does. He's the guy that created the easy way to quit smoking. And Kevin
Okay.
Trudeau recommends his book, and he started all these other books about addiction. So that'd be another thing to look into. Also, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want something? Are you willing to give something up? Are you willing to delete your Facebook account or your Instagram account? And for most people, that's never going to happen.
You're right.
Gonna happen.
Yeah,
But yeah, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want success? How bad do you want to create something in your life? And it's not to say you can't do that if you have social media, um, but there's different barriers. Also, setting time where you turn the phone off or turn it on silence when you're focusing on a project. If you're going to go work on your computer and you have your phone dinging off every 5 seconds, you break your attention span and you're never going to get anything done. It's going to take you 10 times longer than the guy that puts the phone in the drawer, puts it on silent, says, I'm going to check it in an hour. I mean, no one's going to need to call you in an emergency, right? If there's an emergency, they'll call 911. Like, you don't have to have the phone on you. You can take time off. And from what we learned from the most successful people is they do that. They don't break their focus with it just dinging off every 5 seconds.
yeah. I love the fact that you said that if it's really important, they'll call 911. Think
Mm-hmm.
about the mental shift that you can have just by accepting that idea,
Mm-hmm.
that philosophy, that if it's really important, they can call me. I don't need to check. If it's really important, they can call 911. I don't have to see this phone. And one of the things that I want to share here as my my I would say my the things that I do for getting this attention back, because I in my attention sorry, in my understanding, this is the valuable currency today. In my understanding, attention and focus, because people don't have that today. It's just lacking everywhere. You see people are just glued to their screens. You can see children, not children, but you see youngsters walking on the side, on the sidelines, or maybe even crossing the crosswalk. They're on their phones, and it's so funny to see. Or either they are into gaming. And I remember when I was their age, we used to play. We used to play. We used to play football, cricket. I'm from India, so we used to play cricket. You used to play basketball, volleyball. Okay, and so many skills were developed just doing that. Coordination, team spirit, that drive, that hunger. Okay, last minute is left. I gotta win this game. I have to make that shot. Okay, like, okay, one run left. I have to make sure that I bowl in a way that he gets out. All these things were game changer. But today, the video games have just taken things away. Everybody's just glued to the screen. If only they remember. If only they understand. Listen,
You're
this
giving me the chills right now, thinking of that amazing childhood, just being in the outdoors. I remember parents yelling, "Get outside, get outside." They're like, "What do I do? I don't care what you do, just get outside."
just get outside. Yeah, that's the best. I still remember we used to play cricket in a ground, and the ground was the wasn't the best of the best grounds because the soil was not the greatest. It was kind of industrial area. So the soil went all black, right? And we used to play cricket on that ground. I still remember we used to like field while, let's say, catching the ball, we used to, make a dive and fall on the ground. We were all messy and then bring ourselves with those clothes at the house and get a snack in there. What is this? but those were the days, and I enjoyed those days. But today, you see, you if you say something to the young crowd, and it's just weakness is so much today that I really feel that it is a responsibility that we have to show these people, like, listen, that things have to change here because you want certain things, and just being glued on the screen will not help you. Now, I'm not saying that they are working on the screen is different, but for the most part, you can understand where the work is and where just scrolling
Yeah,
is. You can see.
this is not work. This is
And it's funny because you can see it. After the show, we'll go to the gym. You'll see it. When we go to the gym, you'll see so many lat pull downs happening. And the moment the rep is done, they're on the screen. I'm like, why? You came to this place to work out. What are you doing? It's
like in
so
the
funny.
sauna too. I remember Kevin Trudeau made this joke, but you see it all the time, like guys in the sauna with their phone, and he's like, "Aren't you in here to relax?" Like,
Relax. Yeah, exactly. Think about the type of signals that you're throwing, the broadcast that you're sending. I really feel people. By the way, we have been mentioning about. Listen, guys, we have been mentioning about Kevin Trudeau again and again. I would suggest you to take a listen. Go to Kevin Trudeau's show and listen to him, and you will see there would be a change that will happen because he has impacted my life. He has impacted Eric's life, and consider taking a listen to him because he can change your life. He has changed our lives, just total 360. So consider listening to him. And then if you do wish to get into his material, my suggestion would be to listen to Your Wish is Your Command. This is where things change. And this is what I just mentioned when I was introducing Eric. This is what changed our life, and it can change your life too. So this is my suggestion. Coming back. So let's talk about your typical day today. Can you just walk me through your typical day? What really you do?
yeah,
What's your structure like? Go ahead.
absolutely. So it's not the same every day. It depends if I am working or not. Right now, a typical day, a typical work day is wake up, take a shower, do a meditation. Ideally, 20 minutes. Sometimes it's less if I sleep in a bit, but 20 minutes is ideal. Then I do 20 minutes of reading. And that way you get that knocked off right away. You start the momentum in the day. You have your brain working better because of the meditation, because of the reading. Then I eat. and then I will leave the house and typically show up at a job site at 9. Put the headphones in, then I start the audios, and your wish is your command. Like literally, that is what I listened to all day, every day while I was window cleaning. And then I clean windows all day. I pressure wash, whatever the job is, and then usually at about 5, 6 o'clock I get home, and that's where I could be doing anything. I could be doing some science of personal mastery. I could be going out to dinner with friends, going to the gym, going to a chapter meeting like we will be tonight, which is actually another part of Kevin Trudeau's club. It's a local chapter meeting where a bunch of like-minded people get together, like myself, like Aman, and we network and we practice some of the principles in the club. So that's how we met. That's an amazing benefit of that club. Yeah, other than that, on the days I'm not working, I could be camping. I do a lot of camping. We have a camping trip coming up this weekend. Actually, it's a gym camping trip. I will be hiking, going to the gym, cooking, lots of reading, audios, science of personal mastery, or traveling. Do lots of traveling. And yeah, that's pretty well in a nutshell. There's some odd movies here and there, but yeah, that's a life in the day of Eric.
That's great. I love the fact that you said that you are listening to audios, right? It's so key to listen to the right information.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just, taking a shower, and while, and you see, you get some observations when you're in the shower, or you get some ideas when you're in the shower. For me, it was paying attention to this thing that, think about this. Today, people listen to, and I'm not saying that people don't listen to success gurus. There are so many. But the point is, you see the difference between how Earl Nightingale or Dennis Waitley or people like Bob Proctor or Jim Rohn, and the difference between their language and the language that you see or hear today.
Mm.
Profanity is so huge today
Mm-hmm.
that it just fails. And I was there because I didn't know this earlier. And now that I see what is it like? Open your eyes and listen. Just a few years back, 1940s and 1960s, people used to dress so well. People used to look good. They used to have good language, and that always amounted to them doing good in life. But today's show is so much. It's all about show and saying the F word here and there. And I remember the fact that Kevin said, if you're showing F word here and there, it's not cool. It just goes to show you have a poor vocabulary. You're just that filler. It's not cool. It's not cool when you're using that. And what would you want to say about that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Words are powerful and they have energy behind them. And we know that a big thing in the training is activating and illuminating words, which increases the power of the word when you use it, which then increases the communication ability and the receptiveness of the other person. You can communicate way better. So when you're using words that aren't even words, first of all, there's no real power behind them. Any power that is behind them is by people who don't have a good vocabulary. Also, you're not going to be respected or looked at the same if you're using profanity or even the slang, all that slang language you hear. It's like, was that even English? What language was that? Yeah, and we create with our words, right? Like the tongue is a powerful force, and when we speak something out, when you're using that kind of language, you're just screwing yourself over. Like you're digging a hole and you don't even realize it, and it's just a cycle. So yeah, vocabulary is extremely important, and especially in business. When you're speaking with a prospect in business and they hear you speaking clearly, speaking English, using real vocabulary, they instantly trust you more. They instantly respect you more. It's huge.
True. Talking about prospects, you just said about prospects. So, what exactly do you do to get business today?
Great question. One of the most important questions in business, if not the most. Sales is the most important thing, because without that, there's no business.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit of the history of how the business started and how that evolved in a few minutes, and that'll give you a good view. So in the very beginning, this comes back to the pain. I had quit my job. I moved back home to live with my parents. This was back during COVID. I was in major debt. This was after trying to start the personal development business. I created a lot of debt, a lot, the most I've ever had in my entire life, to the point where I felt like I couldn't handle it anymore. I was sinking. So I moved back home to my parents at age 29. Mm-hmm. I then came back to Toronto about a year later and lived with some friends for a month, and decided to start going door to door to storefronts downtown Toronto and saying, hey, I'd like to give you a quote to clean your windows, something along the lines of that. So door to door is what I did. It cost you nothing except your time. It's the least expensive way to market in the beginning. If you say you have no money, that's not an excuse. As long as you have 2 feet and a heartbeat, you can go. And if you don't have 2 feet, you can still call people. So there's no excuse. I did that for months and months and months, and I started accumulating customers. And then I realized that I'm never going to get ahead if I just keep cleaning storefronts. I gotta evolve here. I gotta step up and go to something bigger. So I bought a ladder, a big 28-foot ladder. I strapped it on top of my tiny little Toyota Corolla car. Like, it looked like a dinky car. You can't tell, but I'm 6'7". So seeing me get out of that car with a huge ladder on top, it was funny. It was a funny picture. Looked like a clown car. But yeah, then when I did that, I started going to houses, and then I started increasing the potential income per day. And then this is when a magic thing happens, is referrals. So when you get referrals with customers by doing a great job, by using proper vocabulary with them, by having great character and integrity, giving them really high quality of service, they start selling for you. And that is the best way, because instead of you having to go door to door, they already have the trust with their friends, and all they say is, hey, you want your windows cleaned? This guy's great. And then it's sold. So that is where it really started picking up, and I saw the power of that, and then realized, well, why don't I just offer a referral discount to everyone so that they know? And then that really took off as well. But to go back to the story of the growth, I'll just tie it in here for the business. When I started doing the houses, I realized there's still a limit if I'm doing houses. And then the money I had saved up from there, I did buy a new truck. So I got out of that little dinky car. Everything fit better in the truck, including my legs. And then I bought this system. It's called the water fed purification system. It's a carbon fiber pole, reaches up to 6 stories. Basically what it does is allows me to clean the exterior of a 6-story or lower building from the ground. So when I did that, it changed the whole game again. Because as you can imagine, some of those buildings take a week to clean. And then when that happened, I started making different relationships with people who are in property management roles, superintendent roles, and started meeting some business owners that own multiple properties. And then it kept evolving and evolving from there. And I gotta throw this in there because it's another nugget of gold that is probably my favorite one of all. And it's go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you will see further. And that whole storyline shows you that's exactly what happened. Because I was cleaning storefronts for $20 in the beginning. I actually cleaned a store for 2 beers one time. I cleaned the store for some samosas one time. And it evolved all the way up to cleaning these big buildings. But it didn't happen right away. I continued to go as far as I could see. And every time I would see a bit further, and then you just keep opening that next door. And it honestly, it takes the pressure away from anything. If anyone asks you, what do I do next? What's the next logical step? And even if it's just taking a walk around your block, that's a next logical step, because that's moving energy, opening another door. And it may seem, okay, yeah, how's that going to help me? But it will. Trust me, it will.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting story that you have just shared with so many nuggets there. I really wanted to ask you, a lot of people, when they want to, let's say, become better in their business, or let's say launch something, they have something which which is like a burning desire, right? What was your burning desire? Was it money? Was it helping? Was it giving? How do you define your burning desire? What was it for you?
So my burning desire in the beginning was to create something on my own, be self-sufficient, and have a business on my own so I don't have to answer to anyone anymore. That was my burning desire, and that was what kept me going door to door. You know, you hear no 10 times. If you have a burning desire, it doesn't matter because you know that it will happen, and success builds that confidence, right? But in the beginning, sometimes you don't even necessarily have to believe in the beginning. You just have to keep moving forward. And then as you get those little successes, you will start to believe. But yeah, that burning desire was I'm not working for anyone anymore. I want to be self sufficient. I want to create my own hours. I want to be able to take time off when I want to take time off. I want to be able to listen to audios all day. I want to do what I want to do. And that's what fueled me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love the fact that that burning desire, that key point was the burning desire was so strong that the no's didn't affect you. That is huge here because a lot of people just listening to one or two no's and that's it, done. But the key is, why are you doing this? Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And then the rejection, you become rejection proof.
Oh yeah. Not to say that sometimes it didn't affect you, but you got to shake it off. You got to
Oh
shake it
yeah,
off and move forward and say it's that guy's loss, not mine.
exactly. And that's a huge shift when that starts happening, and that will only happen when you take action. A lot of people want a lot of things and then they meditate and all of that, and trust me, meditation is good because it gets you to focus, but until you put in the action. And let me just share what I learned just past this past weekend. We have another brother in our club. His name is Donnie French, and he is very very successful copywriter, and he has done really well, really well. And now he's making an exit with his partner for his company, and that would be around the value or the net worth that they'll be selling it for would be around 140 million. So think about the people, and always here's a nugget here: if you want to be successful, be around people who are successful because it'll rub on you, it'll rub off on you. You will be successful. Make sure that you do that. So one of the things that he was talking about was he talked about three things on this weekend, and one of them was that stood out to me was he learned how to say no to people. He
Hmm.
learned how to say no to people, and he said because when you become successful, the biggest thing that starts happening is because you have this money. You get a lot of opportunities coming your way, and those opportunities, and if you start saying yes to everyone, then you just burn yourself out. Like, I
Mhm.
can't keep my word. It starts killing you from the inside because you said yes to him, you said yes to her, you said yes to them, and now you see, okay, I'm just totally losing myself here. So one of the things that he said was to start saying no. This is key. And what would you say? Where should, what would you say when it comes to like having the boundaries? What would you say this is? And it, of course, it brings it back to focus. But what would you say having boundaries is good? When is saying no good? Because in this field of personal development, you hear be a yes man or be a yes woman. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like
Yeah.
when do you really say, okay, no, I'm not doing it? And how do you say it? What would you say?
You know, I think it comes back to like just what you said, focus, have the blinders on and focusing on something. And anytime something comes outside of that, don't let it break your focus. You know, I can give you examples of people trying to get me to join different network marketing companies over and over and over again. I'm like, no, 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 no. I've learned my lesson. I've never followed one course long enough until I was successful. And if I were to do this, I'd be dividing my focus. So no, no, no. People trying to give you these different opportunities, but I realized you've got to focus on one thing, one business at a time, and maybe until you become really, really great at it, and then you can have multiple, but no, not in the beginning at all. So the way I look at it is anytime someone comes to me with something that's going to be distracting, I just say no. Even with personal development training, there is so many great trainings out there, but I decided that I'm just not going to really look into anything that's outside of gin anymore because we have so much in there. And if I start dividing the focus again, that's another thing that can confuse you. And you don't need all that. We think we need the next best thing, the next best opportunity, the next shiny object. But if you keep jumping around like that and dividing the focus, it comes back to that magnifying glass. If you divide that ray in 2 spots, in 3 spots, in 4 spots, it's less powerful and there's less attention focused on what you want to create in life.
So true, so true. And that's my key. Guys, listen, focus, pay attention, stop, think, concentrate, focus. It's important. Okay, so tell me some of your proudest achievements till now in life and in business.
So the business one we already know about. It's creating spirit window cleaning. Not sure if you noticed the shirt I'm wearing.
I have been paying attention to that.
So that would definitely be my proudest achievement is creating my own business. And I've lived completely off the income for almost 3 years now with that while reinvesting in the business. So it's been an incredible experience. Going back to life, there is one thing that it was in sports. It was in a basketball tournament, and it was the foul shooting contest. I'll never forget this. It was basically each team chose a few players to enter this, and you would shoot 10 shots, and then the other guy would shoot 10 shots, and whoever made the most would move on, kind of thing. And I was usually a pretty good foul shooter. I was a good shooter, but this time it was like I was zoned in. My resistance was 0. My belief was sky high. I hit 10 every single time until the finals. And then I hit 9 in the finals, but the other guy happened to hit 8 and I won the whole thing. And that was pretty cool to see like a whole audience and around the auditorium standing up and cheering. That was exciting. That was a great time.
That's good. What did you learn out of that?
What I said, it was the belief. The belief was really high, and then the resistance was low because I didn't really care if I won. It was like it's great to win, but if I don't, I don't know. It wasn't a huge deal, and then I just got in the flow and just kept going without even thinking about it. I was out of the think stage.
Guys, pay attention to what he's saying here because there were so many nuggets there. He really said something about flow. That's huge if you realize. And get off the phone because that's where the flow will kick in. So yeah, that's good. Thank you. Where do you see your business in the next 5 years?
A great question. So I see having multiple trucks driving around the greater Toronto area with crews. 2 or 3 trucks in the next 5 years I could see happening with 2 guys in each truck. And me stepping away from doing all the cleaning, focusing more on the sales and managing the company and having more free time in the day. It is great to be able to clean windows and listen to audios, but it's not what I want to be doing forever. I would, definitely like to have a different position in the business. So that's what will be coming. And that's pretty far out in terms of 5 years, but all I got to do is go as far as I can see right now and just take that next logical step.
Lovely. I enjoyed it. And how can people reach out to you when it comes to your business? Somebody who's listening to it and they want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you can just go to spiritwindowcleaner.com and you can find us there. You can also reach out to us via phone or email, which you'll find all on the website.
Okay, perfect. So I will use the link and then put it in the description if you really want to.
I'll send it to you after. Put it down there.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Do that. What do you see are the predictions for your industry? I know this is slightly more than the business, your business, but where do you see your industry going in the future?
Yeah, the window cleaning industry will never go away because every building has windows, which is why it's a great business. The technology has been changing over time on how you can clean the windows. That system I was telling you about, the water fed system, that hadn't always been around. So people had to rappel even off of like a 4 or 5 story building uh, just to get to clean the windows. So I'm just watching a huge gopher run by right now at my window.
Ah, okay.
It's beautiful. But yeah, the window cleaning industry, I see the technology changing, but I don't ever see it diminishing at all. I think it's going to continue to grow. More companies are going to continue to come, and it's definitely a saturated industry. There is a lot of businesses, which is why having the character and the integrity is so important because you have to stand out in an industry that is saturated. There's window cleaning companies everywhere here, everywhere.
And don't you think it's just so easy to win today because all you got to do is show the extra and be different than others?
Mm-hmm.
Because you just said saturated. In my understanding, saturated is just a term that has been, and I'm not saying it to you, but it's just my understanding that saturated is a term that has been coined by people who don't put in that much effort. Because in my
Mm-hmm.
understanding, there is no industry that can ever be saturated if you're showing those extra things,
Mm-hmm.
things like character. You're
Mm-hmm.
showing determination. You're showing integrity. You're keeping your word. You keep your commitment. Those are the things which will never go away, and those are the principles that Eric has been talking about on this show over and over. I would suggest you to take a re-listen because he said certain things. Make notes. Those were nuggets here, and those are the things that will change you. Yeah, skills are important, but it's the attitude, not your aptitude, which will decide your altitude in life. Pay attention to what he said. These are the things here. Eric, I do appreciate you being on the show. This has been phenomenal. I enjoyed our conversation. I'm looking forward to our workout session in a while, but where we'll dive deep into these concepts. And it's so funny because you see the difference between a loser and a winner is not that both are like born in different places. It's a blessing if you're born in poverty, in my understanding, because then the desires. Winners, on the other hand, if you're born in wealthy, you'll see a lot of them because they are born in money, they don't have that desire. So it's actually good if you're born in poverty because now you have the desire. Andrew Carnegie, he said that over and over. It's a blessing. Henry Ford said that, and so many ultra successful people have always mentioned that being poor is a blessing. So I appreciate you being on the show today. I enjoyed our talk. There were so many nuggets of gold that you have shared. And again, take a re-listen. This is not to be missed. This is something that you go over and over. And if you really want to take it up in terms of personal development, again, your wish is your command. You can go to yourwishesyourcommand.com and then you can listen to the series, or if you wish to go to YouTube and listen to what our mentor speaks about, you can go to Kevin Trudeau's show and then listen to this, and then you can go from there. And if you are listening to this and you have a business and you want to get your windows cleaned, he's the man. He's the man. Reach out. Reach out.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
and
you.
this was fantastic. Thank you for
Yeah.
being on the show today, and I really appreciated our talk.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And just to recap what Aman said there, he is right. Re-listen to it. There is a lot of nuggets of gold, but it's not my information or it's not Aman's information. It's just a testimony that when you follow certain success principles, they do work. They do work. And like he said, all the information that Aman just mentioned, you can find it all there. So thanks again. It was a pleasure. It was a great time, and I will see you later at the gym.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. And congratulations on all the success. And I wish that you'll do more success. You'll get more success. And I'm around, so I'll be the one to applaud And and to also see when you make it big, yes, it'll be. I'm a little selfish here because think about this. Pay attention to what I'm going to say here, guys. When somebody who builds a lot of success and you are around them, they will invite you on their yacht. Around them. So I look forward to that. Yeah, so
Coming.
be selfish there. Be selfish there. All right. All right, Eric. See you in a while. Thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.